could just forget what happened that night.
Take care of yourself, Leon.
The pain. Even for a second. It can be different. It has to.
Resident Evil 4 Remake has finally been revealed with a set release date of March 24, 2023. It's only a matter of time until we get to play this new version of one of the greatest games of all time. But here in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the reveal trailer for RE4 Remake, where we explain the key differences between what we knew from the original storyline to this newest iteration shown here, and we'll also try to explain some of the background lore behind some of the scenes as well. Anyways, without any further ado, let's delve into this amazing reveal trailer of Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Somehow I managed to get myself involved with the incident in Raccoon City on my first day in the force.
So immediately, we're introduced to Leon after the events of Resident Evil 2, which, as we remember, he alongside Claire Redfield and Sherry Birkin were able to escape the Raccoon City incident just before its eventual destruction.
Is it over?
And moving on, we get the chance to see Leon prior to his mission of finding the president's missing daughter, showing his collaboration with the US government as one of his agents. And we can assume that the man that Leon was talking to here was Adam Benford, who later would become the eventual president of the United States in Resident Evil 6.
Bioorganic weapons are a global threat.
But currently here was still an admin agent. Also, this plotline of Leon's transition from a rookie officer to working for the US government came to fruition due to his combat experience against BOWs in RE2. And a small summary explains this bridge of his occupation as an RPD officer to the trained operative that we see in RE4, stating, Leon Scott Kennedy is confronted with a man who claims to be a US government agent. Leon says, "Leave Sherry alone. She is innocent. She knows too much," the man replies. He looks at Leon and says, "But you have value. This is a good deal. Make your choice." Without regret or hesitation, Leon closes his eyes and then sharply responds,
"No thanks."
So moving back to RE4 Remake's trailer, here we get a glimpse of Ashley Graham, the president's missing daughter, who from the original Resident Evil 4 was kidnapped by the Los Illuminados, also known as the Illuminated or Enlightened Ones, which was a religious cult-like group dedicated to the worship of the Plagas parasite, which was known to cause mind-altering effects and control once infected by it. This becomes a central point of contention within RE4, and how Ashley, being the president's daughter, was kidnapped by the Los Illuminados and used as a catalyst for their plan to take over the United States. Though in that game, we don't get the chance to see Ashley until a little ways into the storyline, nor do we see a cutscene of her kidnapping or her life prior to Leon's arrival in the remote village. But from what we can see here in Resident Evil 4 Remake's trailer, this could be changed based on this small scene of Ashley running through the dark pathway, possibly giving us the opportunity to play as her prior to Leon's arrival, and would be set within the village, compared to the original RE4, where we play as her during the castle portion of the game. Also, on a quick side note, I'd like to point out the setting and overall tone of this game, which so far shows a much more horror-focused style, with a darker and grotesque environment shown here. This was something that was heavily speculated that they'll do for this remake, which really caters more on the survival horror genre side of things, compared to the more tongue-in-cheek style from the original RE4.
I've sent my right hand to dispose of you.
Your right hand comes off?
Next, we get two scenes that we can presume to be the first house that Leon investigates in the village. This of course would be followed up with an interaction with a Ganado, a person infected with the Las Plagas parasite, but we'll get to that shortly as we continue on with the trailer. So the next important reveal here is the overhead view of the village, which we can do a side-by-side comparison of the overall layout. Also, as we can see, there is a bonfire in the middle of the village square. This was used on the unfortunate bearded officer who tagged along with Leon into this remote community in the original RE4, though from this point of view so far, it's really hard to make out if they were there at that moment, but we can safely assume that the officer did meet his demise here, similar as he did in the original.
Oh, you crazy American.
Next, we have a small voiceover of Sera, one of the side characters that will help Leon on his journey within Resident Evil 4, who initially was a researcher for the Los Illuminados, but later turned against them sometime after his experiments with the Las Plagas. Now wanted as an enemy of the cult, like Leon, they both try to find a way to escape with Ashley while finding the cure for the Plagas parasite. But going back to the trailer, we get the chance to see Lewis sporting a similar attire from his original version and holding what looks like to be the Red 9 pistol, which personally was my favorite gun from that game. Then moving along, we get some shots inside of a house, the same as we mentioned from earlier, revealing the first Ganado we fight in this game, and from this initial impression, it looks great how they made him look so unhinged, with the bloodshot eyes, the striation on his skin, which bears some semblance to Leon when he was infected with the Las Plagas, showing similar symptoms, but not to the same degree here with the Ganado's initial cameo, because if you want to compare this to their character model from the original RE4, where in that game, they were developed to look somewhat normal if you want to put it that way, but now comparing that to this face here, it's clear the more crazed approach they went with this new iteration, and you know what? I'm really loving this new unhinged look to the Ganados. Next, we get some shots of the cultists or zealots from the Los Illuminados, and from the initial general appearance, they don't seem to have much changes compared to the original, but I think that could change once they reveal more of the Las Plagas within them after they take damage. Anyways, continuing on, we get a small shot of Ada Wong wearing her famous red attire, though from the looks of it, they'll be foregoing the longer style dress that she previously had, and this new RE4 Remake version could be a bit more comparable to the style that we saw from Resident Evil 6. Then next, we have a quick shot of Leon inside of a small boat, and as we knew from the original, this would be the time that he'd have to fight the lake monster Del Lago, though in this trailer that's yet to be revealed. The next scene here, we have a tall man standing at the end of the hallway, who we can presume to be Torres Mendez, also known as the Big Cheese.
Perfect. The Big Cheese. What?
Who once was the priest of the village region, but later on would succumb to his infection from the Las Plagas parasite, using his position of power within the community to enact changes that influences the villagers to also receive this parasitic strain, in doing so securing his role within the Los Illuminados as one of their lead henchmen.
If you become unpleasant to our eyes, you'll face severe consequences.
Then is followed up with some quick transitions of Leon infected with the Las Plagas parasite, Ashley attacked by a Ganado, and a quick glimpse of the church. But what I found extremely interesting was this symbol shown here, because we can compare it to the Los Illuminados symbol, which we can see the big difference between the two. If anything, this symbol looks very similar to the Megamycete pagan crest from Resident Evil Village. So could this imply that the background or lore behind the Las Plagas and Megamycete having some type of connection? Possibly having a singular progenitor between the two organisms? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
What did you say?
And here finally we see our first glimpse of Osmund Saddler, the leader of the Los Illuminados, formerly a bioweapons researcher who then rediscovered the Las Plagas parasite, which was sealed underneath the Salazar castle. But going back to RE4 Remake's trailer, here Saddler narrates some lines that bear some semblance to the receiving the gift scene shown here.
What did you do to her?
We just planted her a little gift.
Oh, there's going to be one hell of a party when she returns home to her loving father.
You will receive our most sacred body. It begins now.
Confirming that both Leon and Ashley were implanted with the Las Plagas parasite, with the end goal from the original RE4 was noted in this file, stating, "The real power of the United States lies in three areas: the Justice Department, the administrative bodies, and the military. In order to take control of these areas, we must influence the minds of the people who advise the president. After this is done, the rest of the departments will quickly fall under our sway. If by chance the United States were to figure out our plan, the damage cost should be minimal. We will still be able to conquer the country as planned using our backup plan. Once we control the country, we will use their international influence to our advantage. The rest of the world will fall swiftly."
If I could just forget what happened that night. The pain. Even for a second. This time, it can be different. It has to.
And lastly, we get this narration from Leon. Quickly, we realize a complete change in tone compared to the original, with RE4 Remake's version showing Leon to still be traumatized from the events in Resident Evil 2, showing a resolve that he wants to do better this time around. This could also imply his failure to save Ada Wong in that game, though as we know, the two will eventually have a reunion sometime in RE4. But in the end, this more serious approach to Leon's character only further substantiates the direction they'll have for Resident Evil 4 Remake, which, as I mentioned earlier, they may be foregoing the more tongue-in-cheek approach that they had from the original, compared to what we see here in the remake, where they seem to focus more on the horror side of things, with the darker environments, the unsettling looking characters, and Leon's clear harboring of trauma due to his experience from RE2.
So, is it over?
I don't know. But if it's not, we'll stop it. Whatever it takes.
Anyways, what are your thoughts about this new Resident Evil 4 Remake reveal trailer? Are you guys excited about it? Do you guys believe that we should even have a remake for RE4? And do you guys prefer this more dark and serious tone shown here? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, if you guys enjoyed the content, then please feel free to like and subscribe for more Resident Evil videos in the future. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you guys have a great rest of your day, and this is DeVuH, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Guess that's a local's way of breaking the ice.